Today, we're going deep. We're going to look at the invisible shields your mind builds up to protect you, and what it's often protecting you from is the truth. I want you to really let that sink in. This isn't about being good or bad, and it's not about morality, it's about survival. We're about to unpack the incredibly sophisticated, high-level system your mind is running right now to protect your sense of who you are, even if it has to bend reality to do it.
So, here's our game plan. We'll meet your brain's internal PR farm, feel the physical heat of defensiveness, and map out the subconscious loop that keeps you safe but stuck. Then we'll see why your brain loves the system, how to upgrade it, and finally, what it feels like to step beyond the shield altogether.
Okay, first up, let's pull back the curtain on your inner spin doctor. You and I, we like to think we see the world objectively, right? As it is. Well, what if I told you that you're not looking through a clear window, but at a movie screen? A movie produced, directed by, and starring you.
And listen, this is not a conscious thing. It's an automatic, incredibly powerful process that's happening all the time. The reality you live in is a curated version of events edited for one purpose: to keep your story about yourself consistent. Your brain is literally running a 24/7 public relations firm for your ego.
So, here's the big reframe we need to make right now. Defensiveness isn't some character flaw. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a biological survival protocol. It's an evolutionary feature designed to protect your psychological core from information that could, completely shatter it. It's your invisible shield.
All right, let's talk about the feeling. You know the one. That raw, physical, emotional sensation you get when you feel criticized or called out. That feeling isn't random. It's a signal, and it tells you everything you need to know about how your brain is wired for survival.
Of course you have. I mean, we all have. That instant flash of heat in your chest, that gut-level urge to push back, to argue, to explain yourself. That's not just you being stubborn. That feeling is a biological alarm, and it has a name.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. To your brain, there's literally no difference between a tiger in the grass and your partner saying, "Hey, you forgot to take out the trash again." A threat to your self-concept feels just as dangerous as a threat to your life. So when it feels like a threat, that's because to your ancient brain, it is one.
These shields are crucial, don't get me wrong, but here's the trap. When they become your go-to automatic response for any kind of discomfort, you just stop growing. You get stuck. You end up having the same fight over and over, hitting the same wall in your career, feeling stuck in the same emotional ruts. Why? Because your brain is actively hiding the mirror from you.
And this is the deep isolation that comes from living behind those shields. It feels like you've built a fortress to keep yourself safe, but you end up being the only one living inside. The very system that was designed to protect you ends up cutting you off from the one thing you need to grow, the truth.
Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? It's not magic, it's a machine. There's a predictable four-step process that your mind runs in a fraction of a second, way before you're even consciously aware of it. Let's map it out. So first, boom, there's an identity threat, some piece of information that doesn't fit your self-image. Instantly, the amygdala alarm goes off. That's the hot feeling. Then your mind makes the defensive pivot, choosing the perfect shield for the job. And finally, the ego reset. The anxiety goes away, your story is restored, and you feel right again, all in a blink of an eye.
Now, that third step, the pivot, that's where the real action is. It's like your brain has this whole armory of shields it's been collecting your whole life. So let's make this real and look at a couple of the most popular models we all use. The classic. Projection is basically a game of mental hot potato. You have a feeling that makes you uncomfortable, like anger or insecurity. Your brain can't handle it, so it just tosses that feeling onto someone else. Poof. I'm not angry, you're the one who's angry. The pressure is gone. And then there's rationalization. This is your brain's internal lawyer. It comes up with these perfect, logical-sounding excuses for behavior that was, maybe not so logical. It reframes a mistake as a completely understandable reaction. It makes sure you still get to see yourself as a good, rational person. Case closed. So where does all that inconvenient data go after your ego hits the reset button? It doesn't just disappear. It gets shoved down into what the psychologist Carl Jung famously called the shadow. Think of it like a psychological basement where you store every truth about yourself you can't accept. And the more you rely on those defenses, the bigger that shadow gets. So this brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why is our brain so dedicated to this elaborate system of self-deception?
Well, like with most things in biology, the answer is actually pretty simple. It all comes down to energy.
Just look at this breakdown. Actually facing a hard truth takes a ton of brain power. It's slow, it's difficult, it's metabolically expensive. A defense mechanism? Oh, that's a cognitive shortcut. It's cheap, it's instant, and it gets the job done. Your brain, at its core, is all about efficiency. It will always choose the path of least resistance.
And if we look at the neurology, we see this PR firm in action. Key parts of your brain team up, and their main job isn't to be accurate, it's to be consistent. Their number one goal is to maintain the story, that social mask that you show to the rest of the world.
And from an evolutionary perspective, this makes total sense. Think about it. In an ancient tribe, a confident and consistent leader, even a flawed one, was probably more valuable for survival than a leader who is constantly paralyzed by self-doubt. Your shields aren't there to make you perfect, they're there to keep you stable.
Okay, so we've mapped the system, we get why it's there. Now comes the most important part. What on earth do we do about it? So let's shift from theory to practice. It's time to talk about upgrading your internal operating system.
Now, I want to be really clear here. The goal is not to get rid of your defenses. That's like trying to get rid of your immune system. It's impossible and it's a terrible idea. The goal is to evolve, to move from unconscious, rigid, immature defenses to conscious, flexible, mature ones. That is the journey of growth.
And the difference is huge. Immature defenses like denial and projection, they just distort reality. But mature defenses like humor or altruism, they acknowledge reality and find a constructive way to deal with it. And the one we're going to focus on, the ultimate upgrade, is called sublimation.
Okay, here's your first practical tool. It's called the Defense Audit. The idea is to take that hot flash of signal anxiety and instead of letting it trigger a fight, you learn to use it as a trigger for curiosity. It becomes a little alarm bell that tells you, hey, pay attention, there's something important here.
And it's just 3 simple steps. First, just notice the feeling in your body. Don't act, just notice. Second, get curious and try to name the shield. Oh, hello, Rationalization, my old friend. And then third, you ask that really powerful, really vulnerable question. Seriously, just practicing this can change the entire game.
Now here's a tool specifically for projection, because it's just so common. It's called the mirror exercise. If you find there's a trait in someone else that just drives you absolutely crazy, you can't stop talking about it, you can't stop thinking about it, that is a massive, massive clue. It's probably a piece of your own shadow staring back at you.
This is the question that turns the spotlight around. The moment you ask this, you take all your power back. You go from being a critic of someone else's behavior to a student of your own. And this is how you start to reclaim all those parts of yourself that you've pushed away.
And that brings us to the master level, the ultimate upgrade, sublimation. This is pure psychological alchemy. It's about taking the raw, intense energy of a threat, your anger, your fear, your pain, and instead of hiding it, you channel it. You turn it into art, into a workout, into helping someone else.
And that is the profound difference. With immature defenses, you're hiding from the truth. With sublimation, you're using the truth as fuel. You're actually teaching your brain that this threatening stuff doesn't have to be a predator you run from. It can be an incredible source of power.
So let's bring this all home. We've gotten deep into the mind's fortress. We've seen why the walls are there and how to start building gates instead. But what's the point of all this? What's on the other side?
Just let that sit there for a second. The truth just is. It's our ego, the fragile story we tell ourselves about the truth, that needs all the protection. The more we can align ourselves with what's real, the less we need to carry those heavy, exhausting shields.
If you remember one thing from our time together today, make it this. This is the prime directive of your survival brain. And that means that real growth is a conscious choice. It's the choice to be painfully right over being comfortably wrong. It's choosing truth over comfort.
And let's end with one last reframe. Please, don't be ashamed of your defenses. They are a testament to everything you have survived. They are the reason you're here today. But true freedom begins the moment you realize you can thank them for their service, and then choose to step outside the walls to see what's actually real.
So, I'll leave you with this question to ponder. Because this whole journey is built on one core belief, that the real you, the person underneath all the masks and the shields, is so much stronger and more resilient than your ego gives you credit for. And I suspect the answer is yes, it absolutely is.